In this video, we will start going into graphing. So 2.3 will talk about graph of function. Right, now before we go into graphing, there are a few basic graph that you have to know, which are, the first one is the linear function. So linear function, you're going to have function fx equivalent to mx plus c. So basically this is the straight line. Okay, you can have the one that going downwards or the one that going upwards. Okay, now you're going to have also the second basic function is the identity function, which is fx equivalent to x. So what you have is that you have a straight line that passes through the point of over here is 0, 0. Okay, if it is identity, means that if you have the x equivalent to 1, your y is equivalent to 1. Right? If your x is equivalent to, let's say, negative 2, your y is going to be also negative 2. Means your identity is the same x and y number. So that is mean identity. Okay, now the third one is the square function. A square function, for example, the basic one is x square. Alright, now basic x square, you're going to have a smiley graph with the basic point at 0, 0. And if it is 1 over here, it will be 1, 1. And negative 1, 1. Okay, so that are the three basic points. And then the cubic function, the basic graph is x cubed. So you will have S-line graph, which is it passes through at 0, 0, and the basic point at 1, 1, and negative 1, negative 1. Okay, so this is the basic cubic function. Okay, the next one is the square root function. You have fx equivalent to square root of x. So a square root of x should be the one that have domain that greater than equivalent to 0. So your basic point would be started from 0, 0, and then you have at 1, then it will be square root 1 would be 1, 1. If you have at 4, your square root 4 will give you y is 2. Okay, so this is 2, this is 1. Okay, that is the basic square root function. And then cube root. Cube root, it looks like the cubic function, but instead of it approaches going up to and going down, it more likely to look going to your right and going to your left. Okay, and these basic point would be 0, 0, and then you have at 1, 1, and you have at negative 1, negative 1. It's the same thing. Okay, now the next one is reciprocal function. There are two reciprocal functions you should know, is that the first one is 1 over by x, and the second one is 1 over by x square. Right, 1 over by x, it will have a graph something like this. The upper side and the downside, which something like this. Okay, and you're gonna have a vertical and a horizontal asymptote. Now vertical asymptote is actually that having your vertical asymptote will be crosses. For 1 over x, it will be crosses at x equivalent to 0, because again the domain here, your x cannot be equivalent to 0. That's why your graph won't touches when x equivalent to 0. And also the same goes as your horizontal asymptote. Alright, horizontal asymptote would be having at y equivalent to 0. Okay, and then for 1 over by x square, basically x square is when wherever the negative number being square, you will have a positive y of positive fx. So that's why your graph both are in the above x-axis. So still you will have a horizontal and vertical asymptote. Okay, so your vertical asymptote here is x equivalent to 0, horizontal asymptote is y equivalent to 0. Okay, so take note that when reciprocal, you're going to have horizontal and vertical asymptote. Okay, now the last graph would be your absolute value graph. So the basic graph is absolute of x. So you're going to have a V kind of graph look like, and you're going to have the basic point at 0, 0, and then if you substitute 1 into the function fx, you will have 1, so 1, 1. And if you put negative 1 into the function of fx, you will get here is still 1. So that's why you're going to get your function is negative 1 and 1 your basic point. Okay,